numbers and cryptographically secure random numbers, cryptography systems, cryptanalysis, biometric authentication techniques, security attacks on protocols, identification and removal of flaws in IDS, IDPS, detection and prevention systems, cloud security. And also continuing with us, sniffing and snooping identification techniques, auditing and metrics for measuring security, lightweight cryptography, ECC, that's electric car cryptography, e-security. All these things will cover the protocols of information security. So that was our objective. Thank you.
Myself is Dr. Ramarao, and my mentor is Oscar Sarkar from IIT Hyderabad, and my colleagues who participated actively in the development of curriculum for power systems. So Sridhar from Siddharanga Institute of Technology, Shashkir Rao from SNIST, Trinity, and Mr. Sailadar from Vasavi College of Engineering, Hyderabad. And here, so coming to the power systems subject, strictly speaking, it is consisting of several sub-areas: generation, transmission, distribution, and utilization. Also, some part can be come under power systems. Anyway, so here, so before going to develop any curriculum, so the that means the curriculum should be framed by focusing or by following the program-specific criteria, especially. That's what we are going through, the outcome-based education, program-specific criteria given by or followed by lead societies or framed by lead societies like IEEE and American Professional Societies, some various other societies in various organizations. And then should consider the views of stakeholders, and then educational objectives and outcomes, so POs and PUOs. So by considering all these things, we have to develop the curriculum. That's what outcome-based education. And here, the education should be like student-centered or learning-centered education. Then definitely the outcomes will be arrived. Whatever the objectives can be achieved. And here, coming to the power systems curriculum, so because of incomplete knowledge of use of analytical tools or mathematical methods, so maybe students or maybe power system stream is somewhat lacking in attracting good number of students or good students. And here, inadequate understanding of the concept because of somewhat practical orientation is missing in power systems curriculum. What we discussed, what we understand, and what we came to this point. An incomplete understanding of the process of modern development, and to overcome, of course, it can be overcome, or we can overcome all these things by restructuring the course, by including some of the topics in proper sequence, and adding practical flavor and specific emphasis to be given to teach the mathematics, especially the required mathematics are what you call mathematical tools, numerical methods, linear algebra especially. All these things will help to understand the power system concepts. And coming to the prerequisites of the power system, so here basic subjects as well, that is circuit theory, field theory, machines, control systems, measurements, about UG level, and microprocessors, microcontrollers, and power electronics. And then, so this is what basic power system subjects will be covered, is to be covered. So power system analysis, especially operation and control, and then IoT engineering. And then these are some of the advanced subjects what we have just came to note that. So here facts, so then distribution, even distribution planning and automation, energy audit, so planning and operation and control of grids, and then power system optimization. And then, so this is what actually what we found, so most of the curriculum or most of the universities missing, so power systems lab, So this simulation part and hardware part, so both can be included in power systems lab, and it will give us a scope to study the dynamics of power system and the various aspects of dynamics like even transients and sub-transient parameters of the synchronous machines, etc. And maybe use this PSCAD and TDC GAMS along with math GAMS or interfacing GAMS with MATLAB. So it may be concluded that if a student is exposed to more number of experiments, practicals, then maybe project-based and hands-on learning, so will make a student successful in achieving his professional career towards the power system. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
I am myself Dr. Mahesh, serving as professor in PS System of Technology, Bangalore. I associated with Dr. Renu Kappa from JJC Engineering Institute, Mysore, and we mentored by Dr. Shivkumar from IIT Helch. Our discussion started with how to introduce the curricula in the domain of power electronics to the BTech program, including E&E and ECE engineering. So the student must have a pre-requisites in the various subjects like network analysis, power electronic devices, and also analog electronic devices, electrical machines, and also control systems, including the ECE subjects like DSP and PSPICE and MATLAB environment. So these subjects are to be taught in the first 4 semesters, what we discussed our group members, including the power electronics, preferably in the 4th and 5th semesters in both the branches of engineering. We divided this power electronics domain into 2 subjects. First one is basic, considered as the basic course, which gives the importance of power electronics information, device characteristics, and basic converters like AC-DC, AC-AC converters. This includes the hands-on laboratory experiments in the regular semester. So, and also study of recent developments in power electronic systems. Maybe it includes the renewable energy and applications in drives, such things. And the second subject in the power electronics we consider is the design of inductors, transformers, and heat sinks and isolated power converters. So these are highly essential in various applications like switchboard power supplies, maybe power supplies in biomedical engineering, aircraft, and many more applications. That's why we found some importance in advanced power electronic systems, and also inverters widely used in the renewable energy sources nowadays, and modeling of electrical machines and applications in AC and DC drives, the power electronic converters for renewable energy applications. So these topics are to be considered in the advanced power electronic systems after studying the basic power electronics engineering. So, and also during the coursework or during the semesters, so we are in need of the equipment like the power analyzer in order to execute the power electronics experiments and taking the readings, and digital oscilloscope with differential probes or current probes, and that includes all high accuracy measuring instruments, voltage, current, and frequency, LCR meters, etc. Advanced DSP and DSpace is also highly essential in order to do the mini projects as well as the final year projects in the laboratories. And simulation software like MATLAB, PSync, PSPICE are also we have to try to, and Cyphos inverter model. And suggestions and requirements for the development of a department as the institute or continuous hands-on training for, especially for faculty in recent trends in power electronics. So it is continuous process. Anyhow, updation of the knowledge in particular domain is very, very important for all of us. And creation of platforms to interact with R&D labs and industry, and also consultancy, and the rest of the faculty. Thank you very much.
Our subgroup consisted of Dr. Kumaraswamy from SIT Tumkur, Professor Shyam Sundar from Vasavi College of Engineering here, Professor P.V. Ramana from Tirupati, Professor Sahitya and Priyanka from VNR, VJIT in Hyderabad, Dr. Krishna Reddy in CBIT, and myself, Venkatesh Vade from PSIT Bangalore. And the process was facilitated by Dr. David Koichulai, Zafar Khan, and Dr. Sharma from IIT Hyderabad. So we came up with a list of objectives guiding our process. As shown here. When we look back at what we're teaching today in the communication domain, we felt that some of the topics were quite out of date, and especially the lab content could have undergone an overhaul. By simulation at the start, and then we move on to implementing systems. It's a highly mathematical area, so we use tools like MATLAB. So picking up these tools early is very important, we felt. And we tied these goals to the lab courses as well as the change curricula by saying that the first introductory course in communication will focus on, second course in its corresponding lab will focus on practical experiments where students will actually build things, build and implement a communication subsystem. We also felt it's important to link the actual reward to the student to the skill of problem solving, because this is one area which is, you really have to apply the knowledge by solving problems in the domain. There is a need, at least in some of the colleges, to draw more students into the communication domain. So that is a goal that drove our thinking process. Most students prefer to do, robotic kind of projects, embedded systems. Very few move in this domain, but we can draw more of them if we implement these changes. And of course, we would like to make our engineers more industry ready. So in terms of curricular changes, first of all, we thought the first two courses need an overhaul. Like I said, we want to reduce the analog communication content, because if you ask ourselves how many radio stations do analog communication like amplitude modulation, the answer is a clear no. I don't know of any AM stations still working out there where I live. So many of those basic concepts could be compressed in time and content. So we thought that the first course would be 25%. Oops, sorry, press the wrong button. So, okay. So the first course could be 25% analog and 75% digital, and the analog communication subject would span the basic concepts like amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, the single sideband modulation, vestigial sideband, etc. Currently, we have most of this material filling up one complete 3-credit course. I think it could easily fit 1/4 of the course. That's the change we are implementing or planning to do. The rest of the first course will be digital communication, starting with various types of modulations like amplitude shifting, phase shifting, frequency shifting, the more advanced constellations that are quadrature amplitude modulated, etc. Then we move on to ideas of bit error rate, what are the various ways in which errors can happen, the signal to noise ratio analysis, which will drive the error rates. And we will start with the introduction of interference in the communication system, and we can just briefly introduce the idea of equalization, which is to undo what the channel does. So all of this content can be covered in one course, typically a 3 or 4 credit course depending on the situations. The second course in communication we felt could go into some of the more detailed aspects, starting from wireless channels, because most communication channels today are wireless. So we'll introduce the concept of fading and wireless communication channels. Then we can focus on various error control coding techniques, a variety of ECC methods used out there, and the second course can go into some of those details. Likewise, there is a variety of simple to complex equalizers we can use. It's one of the most complex tasks in in communication system design. And we can then end the course with the most contemporary communication systems such as in 3G and 4G. They are mostly based on OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, and CDMA, which is code division multiplexing. So CDMA can be interpreted as a way of modulation, so we can introduce that as an ending of the second course. So we believe that these two courses can form the foundation for any communication engineer. And what is nice about this is it leaves room for much more to come in the form of electives. So along with these two theory courses, Communication 1 and Communication 2, we thought of labs that will accompany them. Like I